Hello and welcome to the big picture. The Army Chief, Gen.V.K.Singh, is back in the news. Today, in an interview to a newspaper, he has said that rupees 14 crores worth bribe was offered to him by somebody for purchases of certain transport or cars or jeeps or whatever it is. This has kicked up a huge storm in this country, and we are back to the days of Bofors when people only discussed about the defense contracts. Now we are asking the question, has the army chief opened a can of worms? And so many questions will come up after what the army chief has said. So to discuss this, we have with us in the studio Major General Ashok Mehta, and along with him is former Vigilance Commissioner Mr. Sudhirkumar. Other guests will join us as we go along. Let me come to you, General Mehta. This revelation of the army chief, it's quite shocking that somebody could walk into the army chief's chamber and then, according to him, offer bribes worth 14 crores. What is happening to the whole system? First General Singh was in the news for other reasons. Now, this is something which has very, very serious consequences.
Well, you have to look at it two ways. One is that why did General Singh decide to make this stunning exposure at this stage? He has said in one of the interviews he has given to a channel called Chauthi Dunya.
It's not a channel, it's actually a magazine.
Oh,
well. It's a magazine where they have done a interview it's a video interview.
Excellent. Where he says that apparently this incident that you referred to about ostensibly or allegedly an army general
who had just retired,
walking into his office and making this offer of 14 crores if he approved of purchase of Tatra transport. And he said, well, he was quite stunned, and he said he just asked him to leave. And then he says that he went and told the defense minister. We don't know when he told the defense minister, immediately afterwards or a few days later, that this is what happened. Apparently this is 4 months old. Now the question arises, as I said, firstly, that 2 months are left for the chief to demit office. He has lost his case in the Supreme Court. He is apparently very angry. He is apparently, if you read some of his interviews in the Outlook magazine, in fact, he hasn't stopped. He hasn't been out of the news, but he has come back into the news.
Actually.
And if you read the Outlook interview, he constantly talks about the fact that the age row is not over.
It's not over.
It's a matter between the army and I.
Right.
I'm waiting for a legal order. So he is hoping that the age issue can still be resolved. So that's one aspect, that the timing of making this stunning exposure is a bit suspect. Number two is, what did the Raksha Mantri do? If General
he says that he went and reported the matter to the
So what
minister.
did the Raksha Mantri do? And why is it that the Raksha Mantri is today at this stage saying he has now ordered a CBI inquiry?
General Mehta, we will go into a short break now. We'll come back very soon. Please keep watching. Welcome back. We are discussing the shocking revelations made by the Army Chief General V.K. Singh about offer of bribe to him, and we are asking the question, has he opened a can of worms? We are also joined just now by another guest, Mr. Anand Sahay, coordinating editor of the Asian Age. Let me go to Anand. Anand, shocking revelations. As General Mehta was saying, General Mehta is actually questioning the timing of these revelations. Do you see anything in the timing of these revelations? And of course, there are so many more questions which come up out of this. One of the questions which General Mehta just raised is about defense minister. The general is supposed to have gone and told the defense minister that this is what happened, and now what happened after that?
Yeah, well, we don't know. We don't know whether the defense minister at that point of time, this is not today's development, right?
No, but I think the defense minister was still the same defense minister.
Yes, it is. So what I'm saying is
back,
that this particular development, this man making a certain offer to the chief, happened over a year ago.
Yes.
A year and a quarter ago,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
4 months. 4 months.
Year and 4 months.
No, just 4 months. 4 months.
Just 4 months.
Okay.
I thought he said it was the year 2010 when someone who had recently retired.
Yes.
Apart from the Hindu, this is what he said to a television channel. You know,
Yes.
I saw that.
Yes.
I saw that bit. He said shortly, a colleague he didn't name him, he didn't indicate the rank, but there are speculations doing the rounds. But I'm not on this really. The fact that the whole system of defense purchases is shot through with corrupt practices should not come to us as a news. But nevertheless, it is appalling that the army chief himself, someone should have the temerity to go up to him and say, "Well, here's the money, do it."
He said that nobody, he didn't, actual money was not offered, but
I know,
he was given some.
And a further thing was said, that don't be silly, do it because others have done it too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, so this is absolutely shocking. But the thing is this, Girish, if you notice now, I can almost predict this, the way things will turn out in the House and also in the media, especially in Parliament. They'll all go for Antony. Some might go for the present chief who's retiring anyway. There'll be a lot of media stuff. And no matter what decisions you may take, right, bona fide, legitimate or not, all you need to do is cast some doubt on it through some media stuff, through some member of parliament.
Okay.
And they'll be going round and round trying to impale the party in power and the government in power. They have every right to do that. I think this should be inquired to the hilt.
Absolutely.
I think we should.
Anand,
we have to take a systemic look at it.
We are joined by two MPs. Both of them are members of the Standing Committee on Defence. Yeah. First, let me go to Mr. Assaduddin Owaisi, MIM MP of Lok Sabha, and he is also a member of the Defence Standing Committee. Mr. Owaisi, can you hear me? Mr. Owaisi?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Mr. Owaisi, these revelations.
Yeah, I can hear you, sir.
Okay, these revelations today by the Army Chief. You are a member of the Standing Committee of Defence. Does it come as a shock to you? Have you people in the Standing Committee been hearing about any such things in the past?
See, number one, what happens in the Standing Committee, that report is given and tabled in the Parliament.
Right.
Now, coming back to your question of corruption in the army,
Right.
What really surprises me is that India, being the largest importer of arms in the last 5 years,
Right.
Government should have, the MOD should have put more stronger conditions, and the army chief should have given it in writing and initiated action rather than telling orally to the defense minister.
Right.
And the larger issue over here, sir, is that he talks of corruption as a cancer in armed forces.
Right.
Now the question that arises is, there are two points which I would like to make over here. Number one is that the defense public under defense PUC, instead of making indigenous armaments, what they are doing right now is they are importing from outside.
Right.
And unless until we go for indigenous making, this corruption will continue. Secondly, why isn't the government of India placing stricter conditions on retired armed personnel that they should not join these armed importers or exporters?
Right.
Thereby, after retirement, they are working as agents for these people. And the third point is that you have the Israeli companies has democratized corruption. They have taken corruption to the level of major and colonels over here.
Right.
And this is not the first instance where the army chief, what your initial speaker had said is right. The army chief, he can go to Supreme Court for his age, but he cannot give in writing. He has all the powers to get that man arrested. I mean, he cannot say that he could understand at that point of time.
He was too
the
shocked.
statement made by the
He
person
says
concerned.
that he was too shocked and he didn't know how to react. He came and made this offer and he was too shocked.
He is the head of our armed forces, and we expect a person who's heading our army to take all these shocks, be a rational and reasonable man, because these things come to him. What will happen to him if a country faces an external aggression, and can he say the same statement that, oh, I'm shocked?
Okay.
No, he's not.
Okay,
He should have
Mr.
taken
Owaisi.
action then and there, got him arrested then and there.
Right. Mr. Owaisi, I'll come back to you. Let me go to Mr. Rangarajan. Mr. Rangarajan is a CPIM MP from the Raj Sabha. He is also a member of the Defence Standing Committee. Mr. Rangarajan, you can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Rangarajan, Mr. Owaisi has raised certain issues. Mr. Owaisi has raised certain issues. Now, you as a member of the standing committee, have you people been aware of any such deals which are happening within the defense ministry in the purchases? And are you people, what do you think the standing committee should do now after these kind of revelations have been made by the army chief?
No. You see, standing committee immediately they should the chairman of the standing committee should call it. But I entirely agree with my colleague who has informed about what is happening in this country.
Right.
See, things started getting bad to us after 1991. That you must take into consideration. Now, you see, in Visakhapatnam, L&T is doing some work where I cannot go as an MP. The L&T general worker can go, contract worker can go. They say they maintain confidential only to the private sector.
Right.
See, they purchase everything in private sector. In the name of quality, they go abroad.
Right.
See, they don't want to indigenize everything.
Right.
I want to tell you one thing. When Krishna Menon was there, he made India should make all these things. We are able to make not flight and fought against Pakistan. We had destroyed the Sabar jet plane those days.
Right.
So those days are different. Now this government has become liberalized everything. Don't go to public sector. Ridicule public sector. Army generals after retirement, they go and employ in private sector.
Right.
They lobby for all these things. So the system has to be looked into now.
Right. System. Let me come to Mr. Sudhirkumar. Mr. Sudhirkumar, a former Vigilance Commissioner. Mr. Sudhirkumar, now, some people are, now this whole issue is being handed over to the CBI for investigation. You must have seen how the CBI operates. In such defense matters, how effective can the CBI be?
You see, let me say something more. I quite endorse and agree with the observations made by Mr. Owaisi.
Right.
I have had a lot of experience and exposure with regard to the defense sector.
Right.
During my tenure. The problem is serious. There have been quite a few cases which are in public knowledge of the problems plaguing the defense sector. There have been some solutions attempted, but not very effective. It is also very well known that the domestic or international firms operating in the defense sector have been engaging the retired army officials or defense officials as their PR
Agents,
people,
lobbyists.
and lobbyists. And there is no dearth of this information. I mean, the considerable amount of data is available. What surprises me is the statement of a serving defense chief, army chief, that he was shocked. I don't know
how he can be shocked if he has served his lifetime in the army. He should be aware what has been, you see, what are the gray areas or the weaker links in the system. And if such a brazen offer was made to him from a chief who means business, it was, I would have expected that he should have laid a trap and got the issue clinched there
Absolutely.
itself. Now, talking about it 4 months or a year later, and then expecting the CBI to deliver on it, you see, I don't think, I mean, your question, now I come to your question, whether the CBI would be able to identify and then prove with evidence that such an offer was made. Well, seems difficult, because if the key players involved had been so non-committal till now, getting actually very credible evidence to be able to sort of pinpoint the culprits might turn out to be
Mr.
quite
General Mehta, one other issue which comes out is, in the interview, General Singh says that this Tetra, whatever that transport vehicle, and in that he mentions that these vehicles have been supplied in the past and they are not effective, they are not of good quality, and they wanted to sell the same low quality stuff, and he supposed to have resisted it. So the question comes that, is this of low quality, was this of low quality, and why, if it was of low quality, why has it been purchased by the Defense Ministry so far, why has the army agreed to buy these things? All these questions crop up now, isn't it?
It's not quality. He said we don't have facilities to maintain and service these vehicles.
He also spoke about the quality in the...
I don't think this is entirely correct, because there is an organization, Director General of Quality Assurance.
Right.
So there is no way that he can clear this if the user is not satisfied.
Right.
So, I think the larger question here is, one, of course, is that why did the army chief raise the issue now? Number two, that if he had gone and told the Raksha Mantri 4 months or a year ago, why did he wait this long to come up, and that too make this sensational exposure through the media?
Right.
Sure enough, he has access. The army chief has access to the Prime Minister.
Right.
The army chief has access to the Supreme Commander
And they have
and to the President.
The defense and the army chief has also, as Mr. Sudhirkumar was saying, could have laid a trap, could have got the...
No, that of course is absolutely correct, and I agree entirely with him that he was being very naive in saying that, oh, I was shocked. Well, I mean, I left the army 20 years ago, and if it was happening during my time, pocket money, kids' pocket money kind of money, which exchanges, now that money may have increased. The big fat pockets packets go elsewhere. So the point to note here is that, yeah, this is nothing new, but the serious repercussions of this are that, as it is, Mr. Antony has created a system of defense procurement procedure which has been modified at least 6 times. It is meant to be very transparent.
Absolutely.
Government officials
Anand,
claim that as the best document that
right,
existed.
the defense procurement matters. Now, the whole focus will now come on the issue of defense procurement, and over the last few years, the government has been trying to work out such a transparent manner, procedure, so that but still, from what he is saying, those things don't seem to have worked very well. Mr. Sudhirkumar was talking about certain solutions they tried, but it has not really worked.
I agree, Girish. I'm in agreement with what's being said about what's happened so far, and what Mr. Owaisi also said. All of this is true, but we have to keep 2 things in view. When we as a country, our parliament, our media, opinion makers address the issue, that today we are the #1 arms purchaser in the whole world.
Exactly.
Right? That's one. And then if you see, according to the Transparency International, they are saying that defense purchases, military purchases, are the third largest source of corruption in the world as far as procurements go around the globe. The companies that come in to sell are typically companies from Europe. I mean, the Americans are quite clear about this. They are not dirty like the others.
Yes.
You know. The big splash was, you might recall this, back in 1985. Mrs. Thatcher had negotiated this with the Saudis. You know, it was called Yama, $43 billion pounds worth, and those purchases went on till 5 or 6 years ago. And those in the Saudi establishment took the money. The money was like £7 billion. You know,
So
a hell of a lot of money. So this is among the third biggest source of money making rackets, where the money is siphoned off by the political chaps in the country, the administrators, the military blokes, or a combination of these. Some may be going to the media also. I have no idea. You know.
yeah,
because-
okay.
But the thing is, it's a damn serious problem. And while we must, in my view, focus on why did the general say what he said, do what he did, there should be a thorough inquiry. And Sudhirkumar ji may be right. Okay, it's a bit late for the CBI.
Let me
don't lose sight of the system.
Let me go back to the two MPs. Mr. Rangarajan, first to you. Do you think in the standing committee the issue? See, in the past also we have heard of after the Bofors and all that happened, there was the government offered to register lobbyists of the defense contracts, but nobody came forward and registered themselves. So you think now a time has come when you people should revisit that issue?
Yes, you are right. We must revisit that issue. It's a very important issue. And the other thing is also, see, unless you revisit again our public sector.
Right.
You have to use our public sector mainly.
Right. So okay.
Now you know.
Yes.
In the name of quality, in the name of the requirement of the user,
Indigenization.
the corruption develops in that way.
Right. You're talking of indigenization.
Indigenization is a very important thing.
Absolutely. And let me go to Mr. Owaisi. Mr. Owaisi, last words to you. Is indigenization of defense production one of the solutions to these problems?
See, unfortunately, my experience tells me that in the name of indigenization, in the name of joint ventures, everything is being imported.
Right.
Everything is being imported. You talk about DG quality assurance being there. Kindly check how many numbers of MiG aircrafts have fallen down, how many pilots have been killed. And in majority of these cases, it has been a technical error.
Right.
So we don't know what quality assurance. You know, corruption is a cancer in the armed forces. You have the Sukna land scam.
Right.
We have had the Adarsh housing scheme. We had the CBI, if I'm not wrong, registering a case against the former Army Vice Chief,
Right.
Lieutenant General Noble Tamburaj, regarding the Pune cantonment defense land. You know, and then you had this, what do you call that, the Ghosh affair, where people have been arrested.
Right.
So a lot has to be done, a lot has to be done because this directly deals with our armed forces. We cannot tolerate corruption at any level, especially within our armed forces.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Owaisi. So it is evident we have completely run short of time. It's evident that indeed a can of worms has been opened by the Army Chief. Many questions will be raised in the coming days and weeks. Many questions will need to be answered, not just by the Army Chief, but also by the government. So this is an issue which will require continued inspection and continued introspection in the government also. So we will keep coming back and looking at this issue in the future weeks also. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks to all my guests, Mr. Owaisi, Mr. Rangarajan, Mr. Anand Sahay, Major General Ashok Mehta and Mr. Sudhirkumar. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue on the big picture.